Meteorologists are at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken quite a while.
This is pretty crazy. We get the first rain since November. We get absolutely massive hailstones.
It's supposed to be the coldest weather on record in 1,000 years.
What reasons do we have for this? Is this climate change? What's going on?
We don't really know. The experts don't even know.
Good evening. Now it's in the books forever, or at least until the next winter, as powerful and relentless as this one. It really will be spring before some of this snow is gone. This last storm, which grew way beyond what even our crack meteorologists saw coming, cemented this winter in our history, cemented millions of people inside their home. Look at the size of this thing as seen from space. Records fell.
The biggest snowfall in recorded history.
100 million people will be impacted by this storm. That's 1/3 the population of the United States.
Sprays of freezing water from Lake Erie shrouded a lighthouse near Cleveland, Ohio.
Unusually cold weather continues to pound the eastern half of the United States, and it is very serious. It's pushing temperatures well below normal.
Britain remains in the grip of the big freeze tonight, and there is little sign of it easing. Heavy snow brought large parts of the UK to a standstill again today, with airports closed, motorways shut, and tonight ice is the big worry as temperatures plunge to as low as -7 or 8.
The catastrophic earthquake in Chile was so powerful, it knocked the Earth off of its axis and shortened the length of the day.
Tonight there is another measure of how powerful this earthquake was. Listen to this. It moved so much mass on the planet that government scientists estimate it moved the Earth off its axis by about 3 inches, and as a result shortened the day by a few millionths of a second. The quake raised the ground level of one island in Chile by 6 feet. And it most certainly turned the lives of millions, as we've seen, upside down.
Australia is experiencing one of the worst floods in the past 70 years. The BBC says the flooding has reached biblical proportions.
Evacuations are underway in far north Queensland as locals and tourists flee the path of monster cyclone Yasi. Much of the Cairns CBD is expected to go underwater when the biggest cyclone in the state's history crosses the coast early Thursday.
Our planet is gearing up for its largest magnetic storm in years, due to arrive later today. A number of scientists have warned of possible technological catastrophe.
Back now to our top story, a terrible mystery gripping the world right now. Birds, fish, and all kinds of creatures just dropping dead in huge numbers for what seems like no reason.
Just when you thought there couldn't be more change going on in the world, it turns out magnetic north is moving. Aviators knew this. It's always moved, but not like this. In fact, it's on the move about 40 miles a year now along the polar cap toward Russia.
But this is all a sign of the apocalypse.
Give it up for the reincarnation of Jesus Christ himself, or so he says, Jose Luis de Jesus Miranda.
So who are you? I'm Jesus Christ, man. So the second coming of Christ.
Come on, fire.
Hey, Roger. Keep shooting. Keep shooting. The Hotel 26, Crazy Horse, 1-8.
Oh yeah, look at those dead bastards.
Nice.
Thousands are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hits Haiti in the Caribbean, the worst for 200 years.
Millions of people in the U.S. felt the effect of a powerful earthquake that struck Mexico Sunday afternoon.
A 9.0 magnitude quake struck under the Indian Ocean December 26th.
Down in New Zealand, everyone, as a result of a powerful 7.4 earthquake they've had there.
Devastation in Japan is making headlines around the world as the country recovers from the 8.9 magnitude earthquake that sent a tsunami crashing over the mainland.
A major tsunami has struck northeastern Japan
In an event that geologists call historic. It all started with an 8.9 magnitude quake that hit around 2:45 p.m. local time in Japan, 12:45 in the morning here on the East Coast. It is the largest recorded quake in Japan's history. It is also the 5th strongest quake in the world in the past 111 years. And there have been at least 19 aftershocks, including several stronger than last month's devastating quake in New Zealand.
Yes, there are earthquakes from time to time, but we have never, ever felt anything on the magnitude, the literal magnitude of what we experienced today.
Matt, as we are talking, we are looking at this extraordinary wave, another tsunami wave, moving toward the Japanese coast.
And as we mentioned, a tsunami warning has now been extended to include Hawaii and spots all along the U.S. West Coast.
That's right. When it starts to hit the continental shelf, it speeds up. It moves as fast as 500 miles an hour, the speed of a jumbo jet.
As you can see in the pictures, you have massive walls of waves just eating up everything in its path.
The catastrophic earthquake in Chile was so powerful, it knocked the Earth off of its axis and shortened the length of the day.
All right, come to your TV right now because this is our Weather Watch 12 camera. We're catching a meteor, possible meteor, most likely.
A video has been released showing a howling fireball streaking through the sky above America's Midwest late last night. The U.S. National Weather Service has confirmed that the light was a meteor. The phenomenon was apparently seen by dozens across 5 states, and many also reported hearing a thundering sound.
What is that on screen? No astronomer has seen this before. Scientists say they're clueless about what it might be. Back on the screen, what is it?
We don't know. We are stumped. Scientists around the world are saying, what the heck is this object? It doesn't fit any of the profiles of the usual suspects. That's the problem.
The usual suspects are comet, meteor,
stars, galaxies, planets.
How about some sort of alien dealio? You buy into that?
Well, you know, the object is about the size of the Rose Bowl Stadium. So it's too small to be a planet or a star or a galaxy. And it's not a comet. There's no gas in the tail of that comet. It's not a meteor because it's not inside the Earth's atmosphere. So what is it? We're scratching our head. The only thing we can think of at the present time is a once-in-a-lifetime event, the collision of two asteroids in space. We've never seen that before. That's right. A month ago, we spotted this little speck doing all sorts of shenanigans that it shouldn't be doing. The Hubble Space Telescope zooms in on it, and our jaws hit the floor. At that point, we're saying...
Now, it's called the P/2010 A2. And you say that's short for...
We are clueless.
On March 19th, the moon's orbit will be 221,000 miles from Earth, the closest it's been in 19 years. It's called the supermoon, a term coined by Richard Noley for when the moon's orbit is nearest the Earth, and the sun, moon, and Earth are all in alignment. That means the gravitational pulls of the moon and sun combine to cause higher tides. This kind of alignment only happens every 10 to 20 years, so when it does, KGTV says we notice.
There is a precedent. The deadly tsunami in Indonesia happened 2 weeks before the 2005 supermoon, and Cyclone Tracy laid waste to Australia during the supermoon year of 1974. There were also extreme weather events in the supermoon years of 1955 and 1992.
Talk of the supermoon began weeks before the earthquake hit Japan.
However, most astronomers say this is just coincidence.
Our planet is gearing up for its largest magnetic storm in years, due to arrive later today. A number of scientists have warned of possible technological catastrophe.
Hey everybody, this is the massive solar flare that took place today, February 13th. Check this out. Does that not look like the red horse of the apocalypse? That is the massive CME that was ejected off the surface of the sun today. They say it was close to an X-class, which is huge. Signs in the heavens, in the sun, in the moon, Matthew chapter 24. And on the earth, distress of nations, kingdom rising against kingdom, wars and rumors of wars. Earthquakes in diverse places. We're in the time of revelation, guys. The earth is changing, the sun is changing.
We're back now with the puzzling story of a massive kill of wildlife in the state of Arkansas. Birds falling out of the sky, the result of some sort of trauma, and fish found dead in the water. Thousands of them in separate incidents in the same state.
They rained down on a small Arkansas town like a scene from a horror movie. Thousands of dead blackbirds on front lawns, and so many in the street, drivers could barely avoid them.
Went out to get the paper, and I looked and I said, wait a minute, what is this? And there were birds all over. We probably had 14 or 15 just in the front yard.
As many as 5,000 bird carcasses littered across a 1-mile radius after dropping from the sky on New Year's Eve.
I thought the mayor was messing with me when he called me. He got me up at 4 o'clock in the morning and told me he had birds falling out of the sky.
Geez, what a way to start the new year, right?
Yes, sir. Last year we started it with floods, and this year birds.
What could have caused it? As the state veterinarian examined the birds today, theories have run the gamut. From their being hit by lightning or high-altitude hail, to being spooked to death by New Year's Eve fireworks.
It really is like something out of a horror film. Every yard in the area looks a lot like this one. Dozens of birds litter the ground, and the scariest part is no one knows how they got here.
Everybody's kind of amazed at this happening.
Most of the animals are red-winged blackbirds like this one, and they're not just on lawns. We found so many of them on some roads that it was difficult to drive without crushing one.
The dead drumfish are now littering a 20-mile section of the Arkansas River near Ozark.
And adding to the mystery, a massive fish kill also here in Arkansas, just one day earlier.
As many as 100,000 drumfish dead along a 20-mile stretch of the Arkansas River. It's 100 miles from the dead birds, but the internet was ripe with conspiracy theories. One Twitter user writing, 5,000 dead birds, now 100,000 dead fish. Definitely an alien invasion happening in Arkansas. The experts call it coincidence.
Extremely unusual. Having two events like this at practically the same time, we don't think that there's any connection whatsoever.
Too alarming. Some have called biblical type events that have many residents wondering what's next.
Back now to our top story, a terrible mystery gripping the world right now. Birds, fish, and all kinds of creatures just dropping dead in huge numbers for what seems like no reason. Just in the last 2 weeks, the theories and speculation running rampant.
Hundreds of dead seals in Labrador. These seals washed up around Hopedale. There are similar reports from other communities. No one knows why these animals died.
Bruce County Humane Society is investigating the death of 200 cows.
The cattle were discovered on a farm field on 4th Street in Amherst. Today, the bodies were taken out in semi-loads to be disposed of. The Portage County Sheriff's Department says the animals died.
They've occurred suddenly with devastating results. A series of huge fish kills, the latest involving 2 million fish in Maryland.
On Kent Island, Maryland, along the Chesapeake Bay. Wildlife officials say roughly 2 million of one particular species died very suddenly. But this came at about the same time that thousands of birds died suddenly in Arkansas and Louisiana, and millions of fish were killed in separate incidents from Arkansas to South America to the South Pacific.
This is all a sign of the apocalypse.
Authorities in northern Italy say more than 1,000 turtle doves have dropped dead over the past 5 days. It's the latest in a series of unexplained sudden death incidents affecting creatures in the sky and underwater. The events have sparked a media frenzy, with doomsday speculators saying it hails the end of the world.
8,000 dead turtle doves in Italy, hundreds of birds dead in Rockwell, Texas, 500 red-winged blackbirds in Louisiana, 100 birds in Sweden, 3,000 dead red-winged blackbirds in Arkansas, several hundred dead in Kentucky. On the fish, several hundred snapper fish in New Zealand, thousands of dead fish in Florida, 40,000 devil crabs in the UK, 80,000 drumfish in Arkansas, 2 million spotted croakers in Maryland in the last 2 weeks.
Well, thousands of fish are dead at the mouth of a shipping channel, as well as a dead whale that was reported in Venice today. The species include crabs, stingrays, eel, drum, speckled trouts, and redfish.
In the UK, 40,000 velvet crabs littered the coast. Brazil, 100 tons of lifeless fish floated. And in Sweden, jackdaws fell in the dead of the night. Across the world, the bizarre phenomena of creatures raining down or washing up on shore has mystified scientists.
The video you're about to see is not a gravel road. Those are the dead fish.
This footage that was taken recently was in Rio de Janeiro, I believe, or Santa Cruz, South America. I'm not exactly sure what's happening, but all over the world things are changing. We're talking about environmentally, the weather-related changes may have an effect. Look at all these dead animals, these dead fish. This is in Bolivia, South America. Alligators dead everywhere. Whatever was in the water is coming up dead. This is happening all over the place. It's happening in the United States. It's happening in South America. What is going on? I've got footage of other things happening in the Middle East on some of the beaches where there's just millions and millions of seashells that are just washing up. The dead animals that live within the shells are somehow just washing up on shore. All you see is an ocean of just dead.
200 dead cows in Wisconsin and 7,000 dead buffalo in Vietnam. What is happening?
I think the media is, by and large, not blowing it out of proportion. They're actually underestimating how serious it is.
At 11, a man is fighting for his life after he was reportedly attacked and his face half eaten by a naked man near the MacArthur Causeway. When police arrived on this truly bizarre scene, they say they were forced to open fire on the alleged attacker and kill him. CBS 4's Tiffany Helber joins us live from Jackson Memorial Hospital, where the victim is recovering. Tiffany, this is truly odd and a very disturbing story. What do you know?
Cynthia, certainly a first for me in my career. You know, police sources are telling me that the man rushed here to this hospital had no face left, that he was completely unrecognizable after this attack, an attack that the city of Miami police are not officially giving us much details about. One police source says it's the most gruesome scene he's ever been at. A crazy case that ended with one man shot dead by police and another one hospitalized. CBS News sources and a Miami Herald News report says it started with two naked men fighting near this MacArthur Causeway exit right next to the Miami Herald building. Investigators say a witness called 911. When the cops arrived, sources say one man was chewing off another man's face, ignoring police orders to stop.
Now, during this confrontation, an officer did discharge his weapon, striking one of the individuals.
But sources say that single bullet was not enough to stop the man from attacking the other's face. They say the cops had to fire several shots to finally stop that man.
That individual has lost his life right now.
Medics rushed the other man to the hospital, leaving behind a strange scene that shut down this exit at the Causeway and backed up westbound traffic all the way to Alton Road on the beach on this busy Memorial Day weekend. And it was the Herald's surveillance video that caught much of it on tape. Now, we want to warn you, much of the details you're about to hear are disturbing and gruesome.
It totally horrified me. This was probably in my 30 years as a police officer, the nastiest, most horrific incident I've ever seen.
An incident partially caught on camera by Miami Herald surveillance. Fraternal Order of Police President Armando Aguilar says that cop had no choice but to shoot when he found a naked man chewing away at another man's face.
Had his face completely eaten from the top of his forehead to almost his jaw. It wasn't just that he was being bit, it's that the person was actually swallowing pieces of his face.
His cannibalistic attacker unfazed by the officer's commands to stop.
When the police approached him, he turned around and growled and kept attacking the victim on the floor.
That's when he says the officer shot him.
The initial shots had no effect. He had to repeatedly shoot him about 4 times until the man collapsed.
The naked attacker now dead on the sidewalk. There he is on the left. His now faceless victim lay on the ground next to him, writhing in pain as sources say he no longer had eyes or a nose.
Somebody from the DOT stopped me and says, "You can't go any further." And then when I look forward, there's a guy on top of another person eating him up, like just tearing his face apart. Pieces of his flesh, you know, his ears, his nose, he was like tearing it up and just throwing it away. Like the guy he was like a zombie. He was a crazy looking person.
Your voice still quivers when you talk about it.
Yeah, it's something. It's gonna take some time to forget. I never thought I would see somebody else eating someone. You know, it was really horrific.
I can only imagine, and by talking to the officer, I see that he's totally traumatized. It was like something out of a horror movie.
Aguilar says this is the worst out of about 4 similar cases in Dade County to happen recently.
So disturbing and hard to hear. We'll learn more details tomorrow, I'm sure.
It wasn't just that he was being bit, it's that the person was actually swallowing pieces of his face.
The gruesome face-eating attack in Miami could be part of a trend, an example of something larger and much more dangerous. Miami police say they've seen similar cases recently of people behaving strangely and showing what appears to be superhuman strength.
A New Jersey man allegedly cut out his entrails in front of police and then threw bits of his flesh and intestine at them. The gruesome scene played out at a home in Hackensack, New Jersey, where the 43-year-old Wayne Carter allegedly barricaded himself on Sunday, NBC New York reported. Carter allegedly ignored officers' orders to put down the knife and instead began stabbing himself in the abdomen, neck, and legs. An attempt to pepper spray the bleeding man had no effect, the Associated Press reported. That's when Carter, disemboweled but responsive, reportedly threw bits of his skin and intestine at the officers. They decided to retreat and call the Bergen County SWAT team. By the time they arrived, Carter's intestines were literally hanging out of his body, an unnamed police officer said. The scene was a bloody mess. Members had to be decontaminated due to the news is getting crazier and crazier, people.
And now to a shocking story out of Harford County, a case of cannibalism. Police say part of the remains discovered earlier this week were actually eaten.
Police say this man, 21-year-old Alexander Kenyu, not only killed his roommate with a knife, but he also ate the victim's heart and part of his brains.
Stated that he consumed Mr. Cody's internal organs, specifically his heart and portions of his brain. The suspect then led detectives to a dumpster at 536 Trimble Road in Joppa, where they recovered what remained of Mr. Cody's body.
What on earth is going on here? Is there something in the water? This is the 4th such attack on the East Coast. Last Saturday in Miami, a naked man literally chewed off the face of another man. Wednesday, a New Jersey man stabbed himself numerous times, then threw his own insides at police. And then word broke out about a brutal dismemberment in Montreal. A torso found in a suitcase, and a porn star accused of cutting up his victim and then consuming parts of the human corpse. Now, this latest outbreak in Baltimore, the college student who confessed to murdering and devouring his roommate's organs. Host Andy, the U.S. government has gotten involved. You spoke to the Centers for Disease Control. What are you hearing?
The Center for Disease Control got back to me after the readership started talking about zombies. We brought our readership's question to the federal government, and they're saying no, there is no virus that can lead to zombie-like symptoms.
And the reason is that some of these people have been described essentially as walking dead. In other words, they're on something that is making them so crazy acting that people are actually Googling the Z word, I'll call it. And so the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, felt it necessary to issue a statement saying, no, there isn't this virus that is this plague that is making people behave in this way and, in effect, exhibiting what we know as cannibalism.
Absolutely. And the readership, that's all they would talk about is zombies, zombies, zombies.
Now, MacArthur High School in Hollywood is on lockdown after more than a dozen students and a teacher are infected with some sort of rash.
Any minute they're going to be transporting some kids to the hospital. Now, what we understand is this all happened just a couple of hours ago at the school. Kids began itching, they had redness on their skin, and that's when they called 911.
It was a dangerous discovery, a drum filled with a toxic chemical washing ashore on the Intercoastal.
Blame this 55-gallon drum that washed up on Hollywood Beach. Inside, some unknown chemical. The immediate area evacuated, traffic shut down. The solution began to bubble, nearly boiling into a fire. So hazmat officials neutralized the chemical in a solution. That means they made it safe to move. Hazmat units escorted it to a waste management facility in Davie late Monday.
What's your name? What's up? Can you tell me what your name is? Really? Wow. Sweet. Do we know what our name is? Hmm?
A mystery in Beebe, Arkansas. Birds falling dead from the sky on New Year's Eve for the second year in a row. The exact same thing happened in Beebe last New Year's Eve.
For the second year on New Year's Eve, birds are falling from the sky in Beebe. The birds just started falling from the sky.
A new year for Japan and another earthquake, as a magnitude 7 earthquake rocked the country's east.
First night of the new year has brought a rude awakening for the people of Christchurch. They slept fitfully, if at all, through a series of strong aftershocks.
From just after 1 a.m. until midday, the city was rocked by 15 shocks. The largest, a 5.5 magnitude tremor, struck at...
It's 15 months since the 7.1 September quake rocked the city. It's been shaken more than 8,000 times since.
But it is the reality of where we are. We know this too will pass with time. We just don't know how long. Where we are. We know this too will pass with time. We just don't know how long.
Travel is hazardous in Britain today as hurricane-force winds pound the country.
energized solar particles are hurtling towards us at 5 million miles per hour, and they're about to cause the strongest geomagnetic storm for more than 6 years.
Oh my gracious.
It's really creepy. It's kind of like, is the world coming to an end here or something? I mean, it's scary. But it's crazy. It's scary, ain't it?
How many do you think?
Like a million. It's like we're being held hostage.
Held hostage in maybe a 3-mile radius by Blackbird.
Nobody believes me, so I have to put it on video. Get the keys! Get the keys!
Believe it or not, we actually had a close shave, a close call with a space rock this morning. Astronauts say a newly discovered asteroid buzzed the Earth at about 10:30. NASA says the bus-sized rock came within 35,000 miles from us. I know that seems far, but it's actually closer than the moon.
Some strange noises heard around the world the last few weeks has people buzzing from Arizona to England and right next door in Manitoba, all showing folks alarmed by what sounds like a noise.
It's kind of like watching a scary movie. The background noise gives you the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. Moaning, groaning, metal-on-metal sound. Some are calling it a harp-like noise, and it's especially eerie because even with the millions of views on YouTube and the thousands that ultimately heard the noise firsthand, even experts can't explain what the noises are.
Now, the closest case to us of weird sounds came out of the sky in Manitoba, Canada. There, folks claim to have heard the noises for miles. They're partially crediting electromagnetic waves in the atmosphere in Manitoba.
Tidal wave. There's a tidal wave.
Well, Europe really is in a deep freeze, and no country has suffered more than Ukraine. It's experienced some of the lowest temperatures in recent days. It's also had the highest death toll.
washed ashore. No one knows how these dolphins died, but hundreds have been found on beaches in Chiclayo, Peru. At least 260 dolphins washed ashore across a roughly 60-mile stretch of beach. Officials aren't sure what happened to them.
There's a tidal wave.
هناك البعض يتحدث عن أنه ربما
New tonight, a mysterious traffic tie-up just before the afternoon rush hour, and it was all because of birds. This is really weird. Hundreds of birds literally just dropped from the sky and then landed on I-95, bringing traffic there to a crawl.
I-95 splattered with black, the color of hundreds of birds which crashed to the pavement from the sky.
But I haven't heard of anything locally like that, ever.
We've never seen pictures like this before from NASA. Amazing video of what looks like tornadoes on the sun.
Welcome back, everyone. We want to stress we have no idea what this is, but we can bring you some pictures of it now. A meteor or a comet or a jet trail or an asteroid or
on fire.
right in front of me, falling through and about to land just in the trees in front of me. It was huge, and I mean, there was a trail behind it, but this was a ball of fire in front of me. I instantly thought it was a helicopter crashing, so I grabbed my daughter and we just ran.
Well, according to NASA, spring is fireball season. Who knew?
A streak of fire was seen shooting down from the sky.
We got a bunch of calls from people asking. Like a ball of fire streaking across the sky. According to the latest worldwide meteor news, sightings of this fireball reported from New Braunfels, Kerrville, Floresville, and other nearby cities.
It was like a fireball falling right out of the sky. It was so bright. It was like this, a little piece of the sun falling with a big torch behind it.
Oh, go forward. There's a school bus yard. Oh. Hey guys, it's throwing 18-wheelers. They're throwing. It's throwing lots of debris. 18-wheelers just crossed over I-20 northbound. There's lots of 18-wheelers. This is something I have never seen before.
Semi, the trailers. There you go. A couple of semis. Look at that. The beds of the trailers curling, twirling around in the sky, and then dropping down from at least 50 feet high down into the ground. We saw trees. There goes another semi. It's spinning. Down it comes. Bang. Lands on its nose right down at the ground.
On the beaches of Peru, hundreds of dead dolphins have washed ashore in the northern part of the country in recent days. Officials don't know how exactly they died. A number of anchovies were also found floating dead in the sea.
A mysterious series of lights seen in the night sky have some Texas City residents concerned, and even people with that city's Homeland Security Department are now looking into it.
This looked like a Rubik's Cube, kind of like the way it was turning.
The lights were moving slowly in geometric patterns.
And it was like in a Z pattern. It was like a perfect Z.
And we have breaking news right now. A major earthquake has struck off the coast of Indonesia, triggering a tsunami alert for 28 nations.
Indonesia's geophysical agency saying an earthquake of 8.9 on the Richter scale.
But it was a different kind of quake, one which surprised the experts.
I am north of Amarillo. This is not a snowstorm. This is a severe thunderstorm with extreme hail. There's a tornado spotted in the area also. Cars are freaking out because this is supposed to be hail and it looks like snow.
Ever seen what you're about to show. See, we had anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of hail. 2 to 4 feet deep in hail, and then it all started to melt. This was north of Amarillo. Again, this is in feet. The depth of the hail was measured in feet. It started.
We get hail here in the springtime, but it's nothing like the hailstorm that hit Oklahoma this week. The area got some softball-sized hailstones and at least one twister. At least 3 people were hurt in the
Just when you think you've seen it all. Wow.
Hailstones the size of golf balls caused devastation to towns in East China. Nearly 11,000 homes are damaged.
People in 7 states reported seeing a fireball in the sky last night. We weren't sure exactly what was streaking across the sky there.
This is a very bright meteor. It was brighter than the planet Venus is in the sky, so almost as bright as like a quarter moon. So that's very bright as far as these go.
It's been a very active week for earthquakes along the so-called Ring of Fire. Now many are wondering, are they connected? It started with a magnitude 8.6 quake in Indonesia. That was followed by an 8.2 aftershock. Less than 24 hours later, earthquakes were reported off the coast of Oregon, California, and Mexico. Geologists now say the quake in Indonesia did trigger 2 small earthquakes in California. Scientists are telling people to relax. Those tremors were random.
More than 120 twisters have torn through Tornado Alley in America's Midwest. 5 people were killed near Oklahoma when lightning struck a small town's emergency warning system.
They're coming right across the highway here.
One time, 2 funnels dropping from the clouds in Bouse Junction, Oklahoma. The violent system blasted through Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas, tearing away anything in its path.
Everything's gone. It's just another thing we had worked for all of our lives.
It's been unnerving and shaking up New Brunswickers for weeks. Small earthquakes have been rattling their windows and their nerves. There have been dozens of the quakes in the last month alone in the communities southwest of Fredericton. Seismologists admit they don't know what's causing it, leaving residents to wonder if the big one is about to hit.
In the quiet village of Macadam, New Brunswick, they're wondering what's going on down there. The earth is in turmoil, creating dozens of measurable earthquakes in the past month.
I believe we've had about 39 altogether of small earthquakes or aftershocks
You can hardly blame people for wondering if the little quakes are the precursor to the big one. But the macadam quakes are even rarer. Seismologists call it an earthquake swarm, a large cluster that's extremely unusual in populated areas. And the experts admit they don't know why it's happening.
We don't really have a good explanation for what has triggered it.
Canberra got quite a stir early this morning, with locals woken by a tremor. It hit just after 5 a.m. between the capital and Tumut, measuring 3.7 on the Richter scale.
Well, it seems like a lot of earthquakes have been hitting across the globe. So what does all this mean?
Last week, a massive 8.6 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of the Indonesian island Sumatra, triggering a tsunami watch for the Indian Ocean. Hours later, another 8.2 magnitude quake hit. They were followed by 2 strong tumblers off the coast of western Mexico. The jolt made tall buildings sway, prompted evacuations, and could even be felt by those living near the Gulf of California. In the last 7 days, there have been 321 earthquakes tracked by the USGS, striking off the coast of Oregon and Alaska, as well as central Chile, Thailand's Phuket Island, and the southwestern coast of Greece, just to name a few.
It was a sound that was heard and rattled windows in 2 states. A loud explosion in the sky this morning. Astronomers say it was likely caused by a meteor.
Reports of a sonic boom came in all over California just before 8 Sunday morning. These reports came in from all over the area, from Reno, from Pollock Pines, from Placerville, down to Modesto, all the way to the other side of the world.
And I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
I woke up with this boom. I thought something fell on our house.
Very loud. I thought something either hit the house or it was an earthquake.
The American Meteor Society says what's so rare about this event is that so many people spotted it in full daylight.
An unnerving sight in central Florida, a giant sinkhole on the verge of swallowing up an entire house. The hole suddenly opened up in a Windermere backyard. It's 100 feet wide and 50 feet deep. The family had to scramble to remove their belongings after the hole devoured 4 trees. Inspectors say the family cannot go back inside because the house is not safe.
The hole is enormous and apparently still growing. Much of the ground simply collapsing in just one night. The Lambro family woke up Thursday morning to find their Windermere, Florida backyard gone. The massive sinkhole, which has already swallowed 4 trees and a hammock, has now grown to at least 100 feet wide, 50 feet deep, and it is growing.
Welcome back, everyone. It is 12 minutes past the hour. It has been a rough year for birds in South America. More than 7,000 birds have turned up dead in both Chile and Peru. 5,000 alone in Peru, and at least 2,300 along beaches between Cartagena and Playa de Santo Domingo, Chile.
ところが正午過ぎ、突然竜巻が発生して試合が行われていた選手たちの方に向かってきました。
Yeah, there we go, you can actually...
And earlier today, an unusual weather phenomenon surprised part of the valley. Several dust devils swept through, creating big wind gusts that caused some major damage.
This photo from a viewer shows a tornado-like formation of wind and dust tearing through Las Vegas.
It was focused. It was just focused in one area because it didn't come over there. It didn't come over there. It just came straight through here.
Down the street, more damage to a vacant restaurant. Winds ripping apart the building's front entrance. As the Action Newshawk flew around the valley, we spotted similar formations popping up all over. Witnesses are left trying to wrap their minds around what exactly they saw.
Where did it come from? Look at the clouds. This is crazy. Crazy weather in Las Vegas.
Ya se picó ese verga, ya se picó.
One mother's afternoon with her family went terribly wrong when rocks she picked up on the beach caught fire in her pocket.
These harmless-looking colored rocks collected during a family trip on this Southern California beach are now the subject of an intense scientific investigation.
There were actual flames coming off of her cargo shorts.
This photo shows the burned shorts belonging to the girl's mother 4 hours after the 43-year-old put the rocks in her pocket after they had returned to their house in San Clemente.
We responded to the call. We found that a 43-year-old female did have severe burns to her leg, second and third degree burns. Third degree is very serious. That's when you have actual skin sloughing off the body.
There were 7 rocks, and field tests found traces of phosphorus, the flammable orange chemical used in matches.
It'll burn right through flesh, bone, and skin. I've never heard of anything like this before.
To the paramedic today, he's been on numerous calls for 27 years. He's never seen anything like it.
Another shaking surprise for the Piney Woods. For the second time in just a week, and just the 4th time since 1981, an earthquake rocked East Texas.
While many of you were sleeping, Italy was shaken by a deadly earthquake. At least 6 people were killed in the quake centered in northern Italy. 50 others were injured. There are fears that more victims could be found when search crews reach remote villages in the region.
The feeling is that the Earth really hasn't entirely settled down at all. Within moments of us getting here, we felt another strong tremor accompanied by the sound of crashing masonry.
We are seeing some incredible storm damage in parts of Minnesota tonight. Just take a look at this. At one car dealership in New Ulm, wind knocked the windows out of almost 100 vehicles. It wasn't a tornado and it wasn't hail.
Strange lights in the night sky that some are calling UFOs. Neighbors say they've seen these lights for weeks now.
It was up in the sky and just dropped. You know, how many feet I don't know, but it just dropped and then stayed stationary in that lower position.
Multicolored orbs hovering in the sky. You've seen them with your own eyes?
I did, Brad. I was out here for the past 2 nights looking at these strange lights in the sky. Neighbors, as you said they've been seeing them off and on for several weeks now. Now, nobody knows where these lights are coming from or what's bringing them out.
The night of our interview, we spotted similar sightings. As the sky darkened, one of them appeared.
It's like vibrating lights, red, green, and blue, and it's nothing I've ever seen before.
But a man is fighting for his life after he was reportedly attacked and his face half eaten by a naked man near the MacArthur Causeway. When police arrived on this truly bizarre scene, they say they were forced to open fire on the alleged attacker and kill him.
Sources say one man was chewing off another man's face, ignoring police orders to stop.
The man rushed here to this hospital, had no face left, that he was completely unrecognizable after
had
this
his
attack.
face completely eaten from the top of his forehead to almost his jaw. It wasn't just that he was being bit, it's that the person was actually swallowing pieces of his face. The initial shots had no effect. He had to repeatedly shoot him about 4 times until the man collapsed.
The naked attacker now dead on the sidewalk. There he is on the left. His now faceless victim lay on the ground next to him, likely writhing in pain as sources say he no longer had eyes or a nose.
For several days now, protesters have crowded the streets of downtown. But what is expected to be the biggest demonstration...
And then this police van tried to come through, a person down right here, and they're calling out for a medic. Okay, so listen, things are changing a lot here.
A suicide bomber, nearly 100 dead, more than 200 wounded.
Within hours, the al-Qaeda affiliate in Yemen claimed the bombing was in response to the deadly strikes from U.S. drones and Yemeni ground troops in recent weeks. This is the first time in al-Qaeda's history they are trying to dig in, rather than living as a nomadic secret terrorist group always on the move. In Yemen, they are seizing territory, starting to grow into a sort of terrorist nation in 5 provinces and presence in a 6th.
Tropical storm of the season to make landfall. Tonight, what's left of that system is still churning.
Beryl was the overnight guest no one invited. Ghostly beaches whipped by sand. Unused deck chairs rocking at the end of a dock. The East Coast hasn't seen a May storm like this in more than a century.
Tonight, large swaths of the Southwest are ablaze. A furious fire rages in New Mexico's Gila National Forest. More than 122,000 acres up in flame. Large fires are burning in 8 states tonight, and a sweltering heat wave has had a grip on a huge swath of the Midwest. This spring, on its way to being the hottest on record. Temperatures soared again into the night.
In the west, 6 states are under fire warnings. The air quality so bad in places, health alerts have been issued. Wildfires are spreading that smoky haze from New Mexico to Nebraska. Then there's Hurricane Bud off Mexico, which made history overnight, a Category 3 with winds topping 111 miles per hour for a time. The strongest storm ever this early in the season.
About a medical mystery some scientists are calling the new AIDS of the Americas. The name of the illness is Chagas disease. You can treat it, but you cannot cure it. It can be fatal, and researchers say it's spreading now at an alarming rate.
The alarming headlines. A frightening, mysterious disease.
Caused by a small insect. The journal compared it to the new HIV, AIDS. It's called Chagas disease, and there are 300,000 known infections here in the U.S.
You get it from this tiny parasite, carried by a 1-inch long bug. All too often, there's no sign you've been infected. For decades, it can lie dormant in your body, until suddenly destroying your heart.
What happens is these blood-sucking insects actually send a parasite into your blood, right? And it releases the parasite, and then it makes its way to your heart where it can actually multiply. It's called a kissing bug. It stays dormant for years, and then it shows up as heart disease, potentially a heart attack. As many as 8 million people have Chagas.
They are stopping traffic and driving people from their homes, building hives in the walls. We're talking about bees gone wild. So what is behind this surge of bees?
A story of biblical proportions is playing out in a rural town in Central California. A massive swarm of locusts has invaded the town of Harrow.
They have come by the millions. At least 5 million of them.
It is leveling the crops since those critters can eat up to their own body weight just every couple of days.
We have never seen an infestation like this.
Scientists say this is pretty rare.
New Mexico has the first confirmed case of the plague in the country. An environmental investigation will now take place. Plague is usually transmitted by fleas, but it can also be transmitted through direct contact with animals that are infected.
The nation's top disease detectives are searching tonight for the cause of a mysterious and deadly new outbreak of E. coli.
Here's what we know. Those cases have been detected across 4 states now. It's believed all of the victims have been sickened by the same strain of E. coli. Not all strains are dangerous, but this one is. It carries what's called the 0145 genetic fingerprint, one that produces a deadly toxin.
These cases are all linked, and that would suggest that there was a common source somewhere along the way. We just don't know where.
and hard across Dallas, alarming home and car owners. The hail covering so much of the ground in Lakewood, it looked like it snowed in the middle of June.
It was horrible. It was like being bombed or something. It went for at least 20 minutes. It just pummeled. It was unbelievable. And the rain, there was so much rain. It was like being in a disaster movie.
It sounded like the house was exploding. You can look at the roof and see if it's 1,000 explosions.
But check out this fog coming off the greens here. It's an eerie look. It's very eerie. It's Halloween-esque, except it's in the middle of the daylight. You can see the cart going through there. You can barely see that golf cart working its way down the path through all this fog that's generated by this hail that's up to an inch thick.
Hundreds of cars have broken windows. The Lakewood Theater's marquee damaged.
And shoppers at North Park Center were shocked as hail broke through the skylights and fell onto the mall floor.
Baseball-sized hail pummeled the skylights at North Park Center. Shoppers inside.
Surfers in North Lawn near Melbourne captured the phenomenon on camera and filming what they described as foam tunnels.
It's been a sleepless night for many Victorians after the state was shaken by its biggest earthquake in 109 years. The 5.3 magnitude quake hit near Moe, but was felt across Melbourne and as far north as the New South Wales border. There have been dozens.
Victorians heard the rumble build, felt their homes and businesses shake, and watched as their possessions crashed to the floor. Geoscience Australia says it's the third largest recorded quake in Victoria's history. The quake was followed by 60 aftershocks. Experts say more tremors are likely.
But it is expected there'll be literally hundreds over the next couple of weeks, and there is the potential for another big one. And you've got to say that given the power of the earthquake and also the extent of its impact, and we're having reports it's been felt as far away as Flinders Island.
Brisbane residents woke to a winter whiteout this morning. Thick fog blanketed much of the city for several hours.
The Pea Soup sunrise was a spectacular sight as fog swept across the city towards Ipswich and Archerfield this morning.
Residents of the Chinese metropolis of Wuhan were advised to stay indoors on Monday after a thick haze blanketed the city of 9 million people. Described by residents as opaque with yellowish and greenish tinges, the fog descended suddenly in the morning, prompting people to rush to put on face masks. In 31 years in Wuhan, I have never known anything like it.
A health particulate warning was actually just issued a little while ago from the Arizona Department.
An air quality alert has been issued for all of western New York except for Allegheny County.
So it's got a lot of people talking. What is this? Is it smog? Is it smoke? But there's also an ozone health watch in effect today.
And in addition, the state DEC has issued an air quality alert for all of western New York beginning at 11
Was this unexpected?
It was a real curveball because, as you well know, that normally a southwest to northeast wind direction throughout the year, and this one was a very strange meteorological occurrence.
Today is June the 6th, June the 7th rather, it's a Thursday, 2012. That's Seal, and this is a really unusual cloud formation coming over the area here from the north. It's just, I don't know what is coming in here in terms of a storm front.
Look at that! It's ominous looking, isn't it?
Right over the lake, isn't it? Oh, and look at this. There's light. Did you see that? There's probably some PG&E lights.
صارت دائرية؟ لا صارت عترش
Wildfires have forced more than 30,000 people to flee their homes in the U.S. state of Colorado. The crisis has turned into one of the worst natural disasters in the state's history.
At least 32,000 evacuations were ordered.
This is a firestorm of epic proportions.
I'm leaving my house for probably the last time. Oh my God, there's smoke in the air, so bad. Let me see if I can pull up through here. This hill was on fire just a second ago. There's flames flying here. This is what I'm looking at. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
We're speechless. We're absolutely speechless out here. It's heartbreaking, shocking. I mean, this is Colorado. This is our home. And I'm just at a loss for words what I'm seeing right now.
I mean, it seems like it's almost creating a domino effect. It's just one after another.
From the fire line, another threat. Winds carrying embers up to half a mile away, landing on homes, igniting mini fires. Those homes with wooden roofs are exposed.
Cars are bumper to bumper. More than 32,000 evacuated so far in a fire moving so fast it doubled in size overnight.
Record heat and wild winds are fueling almost 3 dozen
major weather stories. The record-breaking heat stifling much of this country, and the severe weather it could very well bring in the coming hours.
1,500, get this, 1,500 record high temperatures just in the last week broken. Scary heat across the southeast.
Much of the country from Kansas to New York is in for a scorcher.
26 states with heat warnings.
More than 3,100 heat records broken in the last month alone.
Temperatures are moving east. Chicago saw its 3rd straight day of triple-digit temperatures. 6 deaths now related to the heat. And tonight, there are still 150,000 people who haven't had power for a week.
Highways buckling under the extreme heat, and so many Americans asking, where are we headed? Take a look at this. Over 500 storms causing damage in the last 24 hours. But first here tonight, the deadly storms that already hit. A fierce line of raging winds that ripped across nearly half of the country in the dark of night. The death toll rising today. A path nearly 800 miles long. Winds reaching 85 miles an hour, ripping the wall right up this apartment building in Richmond, Virginia. Tearing trees from the ground, smashing cars and homes. This image there from Maryland. Today, at least 12 people are dead, nearly 3 million without power, just as this record heat settles in.
Oh my God.
Where's Mom? What's she stopping for? Daddy.
We'll make it. We're gonna be fine. Yeah, what's down there? There's fire trucks up here and fires everywhere. Oh my God, I need to keep going. Oh my God, there's ashes coming in right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't breathe.
Uh-oh. Come over here. I think that's possibly fire.
Fire?
Look at the sky.
Fire?
Look at the sky. Look at the...
This is apocalyptic. Newcastle was shrouded in daytime darkness as a supercell thunderstorm passed, turning the roads into rivers and daytime into dark nights. As the storm's peak, 153 lightning strikes were being recorded every minute. 153 lightning strikes a minute, and hailstones the size of golf balls. An astonishing 54,000 lightning bolts were reported in 24 hours across the Midlands and northern Britain, 20 times more than is usual in such storms.
Predict this one though. Top of the 4th, no score out of nowhere. Listen. Michael Youngman added, "That was the loudest thing I ever heard in my life. I don't even know how to describe it. It was crazy."
You can tell he's talking to the
Dude, I got that on video. That was close. Holy.
A teenage footballer is fighting for his life amid reports he was struck by lightning during his team's school holiday training session.
The 17-year-old was among dozens from Pembroke School training here at the Kensington Sports Oval when he suddenly collapsed. That coincided with a loud bang which sent his teammates running, and witnesses also reported seeing a sudden lightning strike.
There was a very loud bang, and I've never heard a bang like it.
The boys' trainer desperately performed CPR while they waited for ambulance crews to arrive. He was then taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital, where he's now in a critical condition.
Over the weekend, storms made nationwide headlines. Summer storms stampeded across several states. Lightning turned lethal Sunday during a soccer game in Texas.
I heard what sounded like a bomb go off, and it hit the top of the tree, and it was just like sparks and fire going all the way down the tree.
Two men watching the match beneath this tree were killed.
All of them had burns to their body indicating that they were struck.
In New York, a family camping trip was cut short when lightning punched through the roof of Jennifer and Matthew Moritz's RV.
The whole ceiling was on fire and the entire ground was electrified.
And another lightning strike in Washington state left this home smoldering.
Homeowner was sitting in the living room and was actually blown across the living room.
Well, the severe storms in Adelaide and other parts of the state seem to come out of nowhere.
Hail the size of 10-cent pieces bombarded the ground. The Barossa Valley was whited out by the torrent. Workers had to run for cover. The heaviest falls were across the hilltops where hail blanketed the ground. Local winemaker Steve Hoff thought the downpour was snow.
The clouds cleared, the hills were as white as white.
And it's a twofold problem. Not only have they had heavy rain, but the hail and flooding as well. Also, very heavy falls of up to 40 millimetres of rain.
Flash floods in Russia's Krasnodar region struck unexpectedly as thousands woke up to a nightmare. While they were asleep, their lives and the people they loved were being washed away.
After the worst floods in its history, more than 170 people were killed in the deluge caused by torrential rain. Thousands of houses were destroyed.
In almost an instant, the small town was virtually swept away by a torrent of rain and mud, deluged by a giant wave of up to 7 meters, dwarfing most of the buildings there.
Мамочка погибла, утонула моя родная. Соседочка моя вот хата накрылась медным тазом, и соседочка умерла, там утонула.
Over 12,000 people have been affected. The disaster caused by torrential rain swamped thousands of houses, and there are warnings the rain will continue throughout Sunday.
Severe floods sweep across provinces in southwestern China, brought on by torrential rains. Hundreds of thousands of people have been forced to evacuate the area. While in southwestern Sichuan province, the storm had affected over 2 million people. 30,000 had been relocated as of Thursday. China's meteorological authorities on Sunday forecast more heavy rain.
A normally quiet river turns into a raging torrent, swallowing everything in its path. In just 24 hours, this region has seen its heaviest rainfall on record, and there's no sign it's about to stop. One area, Kumamoto, had 50 centimeters of rain in less than 24 hours. There's a risk of tornadoes as winds pick up and the weather gets worse. The heavy rain has caused landslides which have crushed houses.
Days of incessant rains in India's northeastern Manipur state causes flooding.
A sea of floodwater leaves no trace of the villages that lie beneath, or the dozens of lives the water has claimed. Floodwaters have forced nearly 1 million people to leave their homes. In all, about 2 million have been affected by the flooding. 2,000 villages are now inundated with water. Nearly every district in the state is consumed by it.
Severe and deadly storms rattled 1.9 million people across 8 states and D.C.
This was like a war zone here.
At least 22 people have now died from the heat and from the storms.
Swift, powerful, and unforgettable.
Oh my God!
There was this huge boom, and the sky for over half an hour was just like the whole time. It was interesting. It was like the alien movies.
It was fast, lightning, then severe wind and rain, tearing out trees at their roots. They were unusual thunderstorms.
Power lines and poles leaning, and it just looked like something out of a Stephen King movie. It's horrific. There's carnage everywhere.
Freak wind gusts have ripped through 2 Adelaide suburbs, causing widespread damage. Roofs were torn off homes and cars and fences damaged.
A tornado has damaged 12 homes in 1 Windsor Garden street. The freak storm bringing down trees, power lines and tearing open properties in its
path. A wake-up
path.
call that shook an entire street. Lassie Street residents emerged from their homes bewildered to find emergency crews sifting through rubble and clearing debris.
Residents on Lassie Avenue at Windsor Gardens watched as the tornado hit just before 7 a.m.
Unbelievable. You've got trees up there just picked up out of the ground, just thrown on the ground.
It's like a bomb hit this place. It's crazy, and it's just this street.
Windows were blown out, walls blown over.
A second tornado cut a similar swathe of damage through another street 25 kilometres away at North Haven.
As the freak storm hit this suburb, a tornado strong enough to uproot trees as it ripped through Sir Keith Smith Drive just after 8 this morning.
The Weather Bureau estimates wind gusts in the tornado's vortex reached 150 kilometres an hour.
Rain was just easing up and this roar came out of nowhere.
By mid-morning, heavy wind and rain had set in again, residents fearing a second round of damage. Locals baffled their street was the only one in the suburb to be hit.
Just what was in the sky over southern Colorado this afternoon. Thousands of people saw it. We've heard from scores of you about this bright fireball falling down toward the ground. Now, 12:38 this afternoon, reports start coming in from as far to the south as New Mexico. We start hearing reports from 11 News viewers to the south, perhaps in Old Colorado City on the southern edge of the state. Then, not Old Colorado City, rather Colorado City. Then we move north. We're hearing reports from Pueblo. Also from the south end of Colorado Springs, we're hearing from viewers who say they saw it. Now get this. Out at the scene of the Springer fire in Park County, it was spotted there too. So much concern over possibly more meteors that they actually grounded the air tankers fighting that fire for a while. Then we started getting a lot of reports from people in the northeast end of Colorado Springs.
It had a very long tail on it. It was just arced as it came across the sky.
July 1st, 2012. Meteor plunges into the ocean, lighting up the Perth sky. Perth beachgoers at Kotzebue sighted fiery streak in the sky at sunset as a suspected meteor plunged into the ocean off the WA coast.
Buenos días. A esta hora de la mañana tú tienes información además de lo que ha ocurrido entre otras cosas con esta
es un destello, o sea, tiene una trayectoria que va de cordillera a mar, ¿no?
Investigators are still trying to figure out how a fire was started on Desert Way in Reno last night. Many residents say they saw what appeared to be an airplane crash into the mountainside, but firefighters say all planes have been accounted for and that wasn't the case. Both Reno and the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District responded. Crews were able to contain the fire to just about an acre. Witnesses on scene say again that they appeared to have seen what appeared to be an airplane or perhaps a meteorite soaring through the sky and then crashing into the hillside.
I was in shock because I didn't know what it was and I didn't know what to believe, or if it was a fire or some sort of weird light.
Officials would not say whether or not they found anything on scene, and the cause of the fire is still unknown.